sounds good.
Join Debra Jayne East for Skywatchers, a show for the UFO enthusiast. Skywatchers is on ELR.FM. Check out the schedule for the live show by going to ELR.FM. That's EngageLifeRadio.org. Skywatchers with Debra Jayne East.
Something strange was happening in Lilydale, New York. Marina Jacobs went there to search for the one true man that she loved. Too bad he wasn't human. This is author Debra Jayne East. My paranormal romance book, Radiance: Love After Death, is available on Amazon worldwide and modernlovebooks.com. True love is not just for the living.
Thank you for being a part of the Engaged Life family. Welcome home.
And we're back with Skywatchers. This is your host, Debra Jayne East, and we're talking with the San Diego Ce-5 group, and we will continue back with Caleb and let us finish telling about his experience.
Yeah, I believe I was talking about how we had just arrived back at my friend's apartment, and we were doing some research and talking about life and everything, and he ended up bringing up the Boston bombing, and he was asking my opinion on that, and we were wondering what was going on and what are the implications and everything. And we were doing this while we were waiting to pick up his fiance around 10, I believe, and time inevitably wound out to where we were leaving his apartment, and as we were leaving, we closed the door. We were heading up the spiral staircase because he was on the lower level of his apartment complex and out this big corridor to the parking lot. And as we're going up the staircase, he asked me, "Hey man, what were we talking about again?" And I thought about it for a second because that was like a really epic question. You know, everything in my life, boiled down to a single question. And I was like, what are we talking about? What is going on? And after a moment of thinking, I was just like, oh, how we need to just not be afraid. And I could tell that really resonated with him. And this is as we're going out the corridor to outside. And he just turns and he goes, "Yeah, man, I just wish aliens would come down and save everybody." And I couldn't.
A lot of people probably wish that.
The way he said it was so on time. It was so perfect. Everything in my life to come together in such a way for my friend to say this as I'm about to make this huge move. And the way he said it was perfect. I just was like, whoa. I stopped dead in my tracks, and I was like, he totally just said the thing that I believe we all instinctually feel. Each individual person feels, to their core. They just wish that the angels or God would come down and save everybody, alleviate suffering throughout the world. And right at that moment when I was like, oh my gosh, I got this energetic feeling in my call to look up to the sky and to my right. And as I did, I saw this super bright white light hovering way off in the distance above the trees, like less than 1,000 feet. And as my consciousness engaged with this beautiful white light, it started to hover towards us. So
it was
I got my
moving.
friend's attention. Yeah, I couldn't even believe it, So I got my friend's attention, and I was like, "Dude, do you see that?" And he didn't even say anything. He just looks over and he's like, And I asked some other clarifying questions like, "Is that a plane? Do you see any flashing lights?" And this whole time it's coming towards us, getting brighter and brighter, and it was blatantly obvious that it wasn't a plane. You know, it wasn't anything explainable or anything that we've ever seen. So we just inevitably became silent and just watched as this unbelievably bright, white, like etheric ball of light started to hover over us until it was directly above us and super bright. And it was absolutely silent, and it was so low that we got to see the form of it. And my interpretation is that it was, one, alive and had some form of intelligence, and two, it was like this unbelievably beautiful white light. Like, it was so pure in its essence. And
I can tell it really did affect you.
Yeah, it was unforgettable, you know, and I got to experience it with a really good friend of mine. So it's this awesome
So you had validation, you know, because your friend was there. Well, yeah, that's incredible.
It was not only validation from my friend, because after a little bit, it kept going for a little bit, began to dim, you know, and then just dematerialized. It went somewhere. I don't know where, but it went somewhere. And after that, we realized we had experienced something that is unexplainable but completely true at the same time, and super important that we figure out what it is that's engaging us. So we promise not to tell anybody, you know, until we do the research and we feel confident in our understanding of what it may be. And we left it at that.
So I can tell all three of you guys, you know, without a shadow of a doubt, there is something else out there. I can tell by hearing each one of you share your experiences. And I mean, how amazing. You must feel like you have the most wonderful secret.
Well, it's not a secret. It's been out there all along.
Well, it's not. Yeah, it's not now because it's being broadcast all over the world. But I'm saying, at the
remember the YouTube video.
How did you contain yourself?
There's more validation even. There's a confirmation from a third party. My friend and I weren't the only ones that experienced that night. You know, we had a great view. But we weren't the only people in Olympia that had witnessed that. It turns out that somebody else in the local area was leaving a shopping center. They happened to have their video camera, and they caught it on videotape. They got footage of it and posted it to YouTube. And we ended up finding it the next day online.
That had to be an incredible feeling, because whenever I saw something, usually I can't get my camera out or my battery's dead, so that somebody, was able to record that. That's really incredible. Peter, I would like to ask you something. Everybody in your group, everyone seems to have different gifts and different things that they bring to the table. I know that you have a core group of 6, but you've got up to 16 people. How in the world do you coordinate all this many people, getting them together? And I know there's protocols that you go through, but how do you do this without going crazy? That's what I want to know.
Each one's strengths and weaknesses, and you just kind of work with it. And I think it helps that we all are clicking in together as a team. It's not about me; it's about us, and how can we together do this? The organizing is just a lot of emails and talking over the phone, but most of the emails, the average person on my team is pretty intelligent. They can figure things out really quick. I think they attract each other, and I'm just the instigator or coordinator, and once I direct them into a direction, they know what to do. They know the overall big picture of what to do, and then the strategies all come into play.
I think I really am struck by the diversity of everyone, because I know a little bit about some of the profiles of the other members, and it is really, incredible. And I'll have to say this, Now, you didn't hear it from me, but yes, I was born back in the 1950s, and I am just so impressed with your generation that you guys have the forethought to do something like this that you can look back on years ahead from now. You can look back and say, well, I did something to make a difference, and I think maybe you guys know something that a lot of people don't know, and that you can have peaceful contact. And that is very impressive to me, and I hope that you will keep this up. But Ted, I want to ask you, what do you think the future of doing CE5 is going to bring to your life? What do you have hopes for?
Well, I think a big part of it is the betterment of ourselves spiritually. Caleb mentioned being a spiritual person. I grew up with the false understanding that spirituality and religion were linked, but they're not necessarily. You can be a spiritual person and not be a religious person, which I've come to realize that I am. I actually kind of have an issue with organized religions, just studying their history of what they've done. I'm not knocking it. I think religion is very important and it's excellent for a lot of people, but I think the focus sometimes is diverted from the spirituality, and you become like a sheep. Stand up, sit down, kneel, pray. You don't need a book or a preacher to get you in touch with what's inside of us all, which is this spark of creation. We all share. It's this deeper consciousness that we're all connected to, and this is the key. This is the crucial key of how you connect with the ETs, because they are very in tune with that. And by getting to that place within yourself, which comes from the heart, Olga mentioned it a couple of weeks ago. Our meditation coordinator, she really eloquently described it. You have to come from a place of your heart, your intention, and if you put this out in a peaceful way, you're going to make contact. And so this is what I want for myself and for the world, is to just become more conscious beings, consciously evolved beings. And if we get to a certain place at this, we're going to start seeing profound changes in civilization. We're going to start seeing an end to war and all this associated things that go with it, and the greed and the goes with that as far as the energy technologies. And all of this will eventually, hopefully, go away. This is our goal, is to raise our humanity's consciousness level to a higher place so that we can eventually become humanity can join the rest of the universal extraterrestrials, higher beings that have already gotten all to that place. And once we do, I think we're going to start seeing UFOs appear in the sky like a lot more. And people are going to start realizing that there is a lot more to life than just your daily grind, your routines, you're going to work,
definitely,
just worrying about money and materialism, all those things. They are just so unimportant in the grand scheme of it. Whether you believe in reincarnation, whether you believe in whatever, it doesn't matter. It's for spiritual betterment and raising your consciousness vibration.
And I have to say, I think that sometimes that humanity, it's like we're on a treadmill, and I remember when I used to, before I retired, every day you set the clock, you get up at 5, you eat your breakfast, you brush your teeth, you go to work, you drive on the same road, you're worried about the same things. But this seems to be a different viewpoint, a different way to look at life, and I can't help but say that it really lifts me. It lifts me to be able to think about it in this way. And I know that, Peter, that you had training with Costas McCree, and How long did you have to be in training to learn how to facilitate a CE5 expedition?
Well, after going through the training with Costa and with Dr. Ware, it's really not that hard. It's just mostly it's about meditation, following some of the protocols, giving the place a sense of sacredness, and having an open heart and open mind, and just to welcome the visitors. The hardest thing about the expedition is knowing what to look for. I didn't know what to look for initially. You either get touched, or you'll see flash bulbs in the sky, or you'll see comma-shaped fallen stars, which don't go in comma shapes. Besides the usual orbs, or sometimes you would hear footsteps in the backdrop. That's them walking around. And sometimes you'll see scintillating green lights, which is kind of like the ship has landed, or it's trying to reappear. Or right above your head, there'll be a whirl of wind, and the temperature raises about 5 degrees, and you can't hear anything because you're inside the ship. And I've experienced that twice, once in Dr. Ware's expedition and once in Colorado with another friend of mine who went on the expedition with me.
Now, you did get some interesting video with a vortex that I thought was really cool.
That was weird because I didn't expect to see that. I was looking for Ted that day, and he was doing his drumming work, but something told me to go back to our site. I couldn't understand. It was just a feeling. So I went, and I did a panoramic shot. I wanted to do it for our Facebook friends, and that was it. It was not until the week after when Greg, P.S., from Facebook, mentioned to me they're there. And oh my God, there was something there. So it took me a whole week to analyze the whole thing. It took me a whole week, I swear. I had to analyze it like an engineer. And I finally got to the point where it has to be light being Dorothy from Vancouver. I Googled her, and she did a whole lot of work on this already. Whole lot of work. And James Iola, I can't pronounce, Ionola, already had that experience. So I was like, my God, we need a reference book of what to look for.
It's true you do, because the first time that I tried to do CE5, I wasn't really aware sometimes of what the satellites looked like. And so I started Googling I went to YouTube and I saw what they looked like, and that really helped me a whole lot.
Yeah. Yes, it's good to check on Heavens from Above, or heavensabove.com. It will track your satellites the day that you do it, so it's good to check on that. Yeah.
And I think also later I found an app on my phone that could track the paths of satellites and stuff, as a learning tool. But also there is an app that you can download from, is it CSETI?
Yes, it's the ET contact tool. It's for Apple, and it's also for the Android.
Okay, and I have downloaded that, and it's really good. It goes with the protocols. But we're going to take a brief break, and we'll be back with some more Skywatchers in our CE5 San Diego group.